Hey girl, so I've been seeing so many videos recently of exit your lazy girl era. So like, as a fellow lazy girl, those videos really do call to me. And I always think like, yeah, like tell me, give me the tea. How do I get out of my lazy girl era? And then I watch them and I'm kind of just a little bit like the information's good and it's all true and it all makes sense and it's great. But it's very lost on me. Like it feels redundant because I'm just not in that mindset. Like I think sometimes when you're in a lazy girl era or like a flop era or in a rut or whatever, you're not in that positive mindset to get you out of it that the creators who are filming it probably will be, if you know what I mean. So like they're coming at you from a place of like they're probably feeling great, like feeling high vibe, but the audience that they're kind of targeting is like the lazy girls. And obviously when you're a lazy girl, you feel lazy and you feel like it's hard to get out of a lazy girl era. It's hard to get out of a slump because you're actually feeling lazy. Whereas like when you're coming from like an outsider perspective, giving advice on it, even though these people might be, I don't know, I'm digging myself in a hole, but I just feel like it's really difficult when you're in a rut to watch these videos, be given advice and tips of how to get out of it and to implement them, but then they just kind of don't work because your reality is that you're kind of like feeling a little bit lazy. Oh, let me just say bye to everyone at work. Have a fabulous evening, my loves. Goodbye. What was I saying? But yeah, when you're in a lazy girl era or in a rut, it's just so much harder to pull yourself out of it. Like you need more than willpower to pull yourself out of it. And I think a lot of the time we kind of depend on these videos to give us that motivation and that willpower, which they will initially give us when we're watching it, but it doesn't stick, like it doesn't last, and it doesn't actually have impact on us. Like, or maybe it does, I don't know, but it doesn't have impact on me in the way that I feel like it should. And I don't know whether it's coming from this place of like, when I'm feeling a certain kind of way, and I always bang on about this, but like if I'm feeling a certain kind of way and I feel like I'm not being validated or if I'm not being seen for feeling that kind of way, it makes me stay in that place so much longer because I kind of feel like I've not seen out the emotions, like I've not seen it through. So like, I don't know, like if I'm feeling like I'm in a lazy girl era and like I'm seeing so many videos saying like exit your lazy girl era and like how to get out of a rut and all of that shit, it kind of makes me feel a little bit like, yeah, but I'm not done. Like I'm not finished in my lazy girl era. Do you know what I mean? Even though some people might be finished in the lazy girl era, but like that was just personally how I was feeling when I was watching these videos, and I had to stop. I feel like I get to a point where I need to stop taking in content when I'm in like a down place, like when I'm in a bad place, because I watch it because it's like I'm trying to find an external solution to my problem, which is very much an internal problem. So like I'm never going to get a solution to my problem from external sources. It's always going to come from within, and like actually living through the emotions and seeing through the emotions and then getting out the other side. So it's kind of like, I feel like these videos and this kind of content is so good, but like not actually when you're in a lazy girl era. Like it's like it doesn't work for the audience it's intended for. Do you know what I mean? I can't really explain it because obviously I love that content and like it serves a purpose and it's really good and it's motivating, it's inspiring, but I think like, I don't know, I'm just speaking from like my personal experience, but like when I'm in like a lazy girl era, I don't want to keep saying it because when I'm editing I notice I say things over and over again. Anyway, when I'm feeling like that, I just feel like it's really difficult to get out. Do you know what I mean? But then I was thinking to myself, so like if these videos aren't working for me and I feel like I'm still stuck and like I feel like I'm still just not getting out of this lazy girl era that I feel like I'm in, and obviously the people who watch it, like myself, we want to get out of the lazy girl era, but then it just made me think like, why do we want to get out of the lazy girl era? Like why do we want to escape what we're experiencing right now? And I get it, I get that we don't, like it doesn't serve us to be lazy, but like a lot of the time when we're in a lazy girl era, it's not because we're lazy. Like it's literally probably because we're burnt out, we're tired, we're living in our masculine energy far too much and we're never in our feminine. We're just feeling deflated and we're feeling depressed. We might be feeling down about whatever circumstances in our life, and I don't deem that to be lazy. I deem that to be like something that needs to be investigated and sort of honoured. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think it really, I don't know, I just don't think it's really that helpful in a way. I can't remember what I was literally just saying. I feel like I had a point that I was gonna get to. Okay, so basically, like, I was thinking, like, if these videos aren't working for me, then what would work for me? Like, how would I actually get out of a lazy girl era? Because obviously I want to not be lazy. I want to get things done. Like, I'm a busy girl. I've got big dreams, big goals. I've got things that I want to get done. But like, if I'm lazy, then, or if I'm feeling lazy or in a lazy girl era, then I'm not going to be able to get those things done. And obviously that's a big problem because I want to get those things done, but I just find it really difficult, like, when I'm being told what to do, essentially, even though I'm not, like, I am clicking on the video. You know what I'm saying? I was thinking to myself, like, what if we told ourselves, just stay in your lazy girl era? What would happen? Like, what about that? How about that? How would that change your perspective of it and how you view that situation? Because I know for me, like, if somebody tells me to do something, I don't want to do it. Like, I'm not going to do it. I know, like, so say when I have cravings, like, sometimes when it's that time of the month, I get the biggest cravings ever. Like, I want to eat everything in sight. Let's say I have a craving. If I tell myself I'm not allowed to have that thing, it makes it insatiable. It makes me want it more. And like, the other, I think it was Friday night, it was last Friday, which, can I add, was the Aquarius supermoon, the new moon. But yeah, so I'm an Aquarius moon. So that supermoon really, it really affected me on a different kind of level, because this is a side note. I came on my period like a week late this month, and that's not really heard of for me. Like, that's really weird, and I was getting really stressed because I was feeling like the luteal phase, where I was feeling really down and like mood swingy, was dragging out so much longer than it needed to, and I was getting really stressed. But then it turned out that my body must have just been syncing with the new moon, because, God, it was a roller coaster. It really was a roller coaster. But basically, I came on my period on that night, like on the night of the supermoon, after waiting like a week. It was crazy. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, so I had a craving on that Friday night. I really wanted KFC. Like, I really just wanted KFC. And I said to my boyfriend, I texted him, and I was saying, I really want KFC, because he was working that night. And usually he would say to me like, like, he's really healthy, like, he's great. But he would usually say to me like, oh, why don't you like make some salmon or something? Like, you like salmon, like, that's really healthy and you'll save you money, blah, blah, blah. And like, when he says things like that, that literally makes me think like, no, I want KFC more than ever. Like, I want that KFC now, and I'll always get one. I don't know why I'm like this. I don't know why my brain operates in this way, but that's just how it operates. And when I do that, or like when he says that, it just makes me want to have the thing, because I don't want to do what I'm told. And then on this occasion, he said to me like, babe, go for it. You've had a really difficult week. Like, you go get a KFC. If you want a KFC, you get a KFC. You're healthy most of the time, you get a KFC. And in my head, I was thinking like, yeah, you're right. Like, I've worked really hard this week. I'm really tired. I'm really bent out. I deserve a KFC. Yeah, I should get a KFC. But then it was like, when he said that to me, I was thinking in my mind like, I don't really want this KFC as much anymore. Like, now that he's said that, subconsciously I was thinking like, I don't even want this. Like, I don't even want it. I'm not even bothered. It was like I was waiting for him to give me the excuse to get a KFC by telling me to not have a KFC. But then when he told me to have the KFC, I didn't want it. So my point is, when people tell you that you should do a certain thing, or you should act a certain way, or that you should get out of your lazy girl era, I don't know whether that has a kind of effect on me where I'm like, I don't want to get out of my lazy girl era. I want to stay in it. Like, why should I have to get out of it? And it's not even like a conscious thought. It's like a subconscious thing. It's deep, deep down, deep rooted, where I'm thinking, I just don't want to do that because people are saying, do it. So I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. So like, then in my head, I was thinking, if we reframe it into like, what would happen if you just stayed in your lazy girl era? Like, what if you just allowed it? What if you just let yourself be lazy? What is the worst that's going to happen? And I think when I start reframing things like that, it really changes the game for me. I was calling it a flop era. It felt like forever. I felt like I was in a flop era forever. And just in every aspect of my life, like, everything just felt like really resistant, really difficult. Everything felt like it was going wrong. And because I was like incessantly Googling, not Googling, but like YouTube Googling videos on like how to get out of that, and I kept like refreshing my homepage because like I wanted the algorithm to just give me that one video that was going to change my life, and there was just nothing. The universe was like, no, you're going to work this out for yourself. Like you're not doing this anymore. So I had to like really kind of figure it out myself, like how on earth am I going to get out of this flop era? And then I realized in my head, like, the more that I'm telling myself that I need to get out of this flop era and that I need to get out of this lazy girl era because everyone online is fucking telling me to, the more that I'm staying in it because I am just being so resistant to experiencing what the universe wants me to experience. A lot of the time when we're going through something, it is literally for a reason. Like it's to teach us something. It's to kind of allow us to realize something about ourselves or learn something. So when we're not flowing with our life and we're constantly telling ourselves that we need to not be in the phase of life that we're in right now, it makes you stay in it for so much longer because you're just resistant. Like you're not flowing with your life and what you're feeling, and you're kind of like invalidating your feelings, and you're making yourself feel that what you're feeling now is wrong and that you need to get out of it. And I don't know, I genuinely think that was the reason that I stayed in a flop era. A flop era? Is it even called that? I don't know. I think that's why I stayed in it for so long. And once I finally admitted defeat, not admitted defeat, but like once I finally just accepted the fact that I was in a flop era and like things were just not really working out, everything felt resistant, whatever. Once I accepted that, because I literally had no more fucking energy to even not accept it, like I couldn't resist it any longer, and that's usually what happens. But once I accepted it, and I filmed my recent video, like just sort of letting everything off my chest, and once I did that, it was like finally this sort of really heavy feeling of like burden of being in like this fucking flop era, whatever we are calling it, it just got so much lighter, genuinely got so much lighter. And it felt like the next day I just had a weight lifted off my shoulders, and I felt, as I say, lighter. I literally just was navigating the world in such a different way, and I woke up feeling so much better because I just allowed myself to accept, like, yeah, I'm in a phase of my life where things aren't really going right. Like they're not going how I want them to go, and I'm in a situation that isn't really serving me. But the reason that I'm probably staying in this era is because I'm not wanting it, and I'm not willing to learn from it. I'm not willing to learn from the lessons it's trying to teach me. I'm just being basically a spoiled little brat and thinking, no, I want to feel good because I have things to do, I'm busy, I have big goals, blah blah blah. Like the universe always has a bigger plan for you, and it's not going to be linear. It's not going to be how you think it's going to be. And a lot of the time you are sent these tests and you're sent these seasons that really test your resilience and your patience, and it's how you deal with those tests that really determine whether you're going to learn the lessons from them. And a lot of the time, right, I'm like fucking jinxing myself here, because when I film videos like this, when I've had like a big realization, I feel like the tests come rolling in afterwards to make sure that I'm like a woman of my word. So like I know that I'm going to post this video and I'm going to get tests left, right and center. I can just feel it. It always happens. Not that I want to manifest that, but it just is what it is. But life truly gives you tests for you to learn something from them. Like all the down times and all the bad times in our lives, even like the very rock bottoms that we have, there is always something to learning it. And when you're in it, it feels so fucking difficult. It feels so hard to even try and see the light at the end of the tunnel, because it's like, it kind of, you know, like in a film, in like a Disney film where someone's under a spell and they don't know who they are, and you're like shouting at the TV like, no, like don't go that way, or don't kiss that person because you're not thinking straight or whatever. It's kind of like that when you're in these low moments. Like we feel like it's gonna last forever, and we feel like that is our life now. And I think this can be the same with anything. Like when you're too attached to your emotions, that is just the recipe for being stuck. I know for me that I feel this in both happy and sad emotions. So like when I'm feeling really, really happy, I literally feel like nothing can drag me down. I feel like I've got the complete recipe of how to be happy, and no one's ever going to take that away from me, because I know exactly what to do. I know exactly what external tools to use to make me feel happy. But it always turns out that that's not the case and that you can't cling on to happiness. Because let's say, for example, one day you're feeling great and then the next day you're not feeling so great. You wake up feeling a little bit rubbish on the wrong side of the bed, and you're thinking in your head, oh right, well I know my tools that I use to make myself feel happy, so I'm just going to do those. And you do the same things again that you did the day before that made you feel so happy, but you find that they don't work when you do it again. Like, they don't have the same impact, the same effect. And that's like the same with, like, let's say for example addictions. I'm not going to be able to explain this very well, but like, say for example, like if you take drugs and like, let's say you start with weed and like you're smoking weed every now and then you start smoking weed every day because you like the feeling of it, and then eventually you get desensitized to that feeling, and then you want the harder stuff because you wanna, it's not the weed that you want, it's that feeling that the weed gives you. So what was I talking about? Oh, so with happy, like things that make you feel happy, you think that you can do them again and it'll have the same effect, and maybe the second time it will have the same effect or a similar effect, but you'll find like over time, the more that you do these things that make you feel happy, these external things, they lose their impact, they lose their flavor and their effect, and they don't work as well anymore. And then what are you left with? You're literally left with your depressed self. So that's a whole nother video that we could go into of like how it's internal, and like you can't seek your happiness in external things because external things are not permanent, like they don't always work. But it's the same with negative emotions. When we're feeling negative emotions, we feel like that's the end of our world and like that is all there is, and that we'll never get out of it, we'll never get out the other side, and it feels so consuming and it feels just terrifying and awful, and it feels like an effort to just do your day-to-day things. It feels like an effort to wake up and go to work, and everything just feels so much harder. Like, it's still fresh in my mind how I've been feeling recently, but yeah, everything feels like an effort and everything feels really unfair and just a little bit shitty, and it feels like you're gonna be in it forever. And it's genuinely not the case, and it never is the case with any emotion. When you're too attached to your emotions, you just end up feeling so stuck because you're being so resistant and you're not allowing yourself to flow through all of the different spectrum of emotions that life wants you to feel, that you are meant to feel as a human being. Another thing that I realized about our flop era, lazy girl era, whatever the fuck, oh my god, is that that time of our life is actually the blueprint of where we want to be in life. When we are going through something and it's really difficult, we, like I say, we try and find the answers in external things, and we try to find the blueprint in other people and copy what other people do, in a sense. Like, we study people who we want to be like, and we study what they do, how they do things, how they, say if it's like a YouTuber who I look up to, let's say, and I would think like, right, like how have they done this certain thing to make their thumbnail look eye-catching? Like, is it the brightness, or is it the font, is it this, that and the other? And we try to find the blueprint to our success in other people. And I just know from my personal experience that that just doesn't fucking work. Like, it doesn't work at all, because the true blueprint is actually in the shit moments in your life, like the things that go wrong in your life when you feel like you're at absolute rock bottom. You literally have a gold mine of information about yourself, about the things that you want, about the things that you don't want. You get universal downloads of like how you can maybe get out of it if you actually take the time to sit and connect with yourself and listen to yourself. And there's just so many answers, and there's so much wisdom within ourselves and within these dark times of our life. So for us to feel like we need to exit our lazy girl era or exit our flop era or whatever it is, we're trying to exit something that the universe or God or whoever intended you to be going through right now at this phase of your life, because there are things that you need to learn. You don't need to force yourself out of a lazy girl era. If you're feeling lazy and you're feeling tired and you don't have the motivation and energy to do anything, who says that you have to force yourself to get out of that? Obviously, it's great, it's so good to have the intention to want to get out of that, but there is such a difference between setting an intention and setting a goal, because with an intention, it's more flexible, it's more free. With a goal, it's like I have to reach that goal, and if I don't reach that goal, then everything's gonna go to shit. Like my whole life depends on me reaching that goal. Whereas an intention is like, it's empowering because you're setting an intention of something that you want, and if it works out, great, and if it doesn't work out, that's also great. So it's good to set intentions. It's good to have that intention, that little seed in your mind of like, yeah, I do want to exit my lazy girl era. I don't really want to be like identified with this era of my life, but I just think that telling yourself that you need to exit it and like do it with force, because sometimes when you come across these videos, it's very unsolicited. Like you're probably not ready to come across these videos and they appear on your homepage and you click on it because you resonate, but you're not actually ready. So you're like taking on these tips and advice and you're doing these things, but you're wondering why they're not working. And it is literally because you are meant to be in this phase of your life right now. That is what is your plan for the moment. And like, yeah, I feel like I'm gonna keep repeating myself, so I'm just gonna like stop, but basically just not resisting and just flowing with the season of life that you're in, and just shifting your perspective from saying like, what would happen if I stayed in my lazy girl era? How about I just stay in this lazy girl era? And what? Who's gonna stop me? Who is gonna stop me from being a lazy girl? When you start thinking of it like that, it gives you empowerment. It gives you a choice, because you're telling yourself that whatever you do, whether you stay in your lazy girl era or you don't, whatever you do, it's gonna be fine. And you're gonna love yourself regardless. Another thing, I do think that using words like lazy girl can be very detrimental to our self-concept, because when we're seeing these things all the time online and they're personally attacking us by popping up on our homepage, not attacking, but like it feels like victimization when they come up on your homepage, you start to subconsciously identify as a lazy girl or whatever these videos are telling you. The more that you're seeing wording like this and you're clicking on the videos and you're watching them and you're avidly studying how to get out of a lazy girl era, the more that you are taking on that identity. And we don't realize it, or like how damaging it can be, but like our words are so potent and powerful, and when we start describing ourselves as a certain kind of thing, and when we start putting ourselves in a box, we're just restricting ourselves. We're keeping ourselves in that tiny little box. And do you know what happens when you're in a box? That box starts to look comfy. It starts to feel a little bit cozy over time. It starts to feel familiar, and you start setting up camp in there. You start putting up decorations. You start putting little throws and cushions everywhere, and it becomes you. It literally becomes your entire identity. But people like it. People around you will probably be like, oh, this is great because you're in a box, and that makes sense. Like, I can understand you if you're in a box. Like, people don't like to understand that human beings are complex and we are contradictory and we don't make sense half of the time. That is literally how we are as human beings. Like, we are so multifaceted, but people like us to be in a box. So like, by subconsciously defining ourselves as these things like lazy girls, or we're in a rut, or we're in a flop era, or everything goes wrong for us, like all of this negative self-talk is so damaging to, if you actually have big goals and dreams, it's so damaging to you getting there. One last thing that I wanted to mention about like this trend that I'm seeing at the minute, and like if you're resonating with it but it's kind of not working, like it's not helpful, the content that you're seeing, I think if you was wanting to actually gradually step out of your lazy girl era, but you feel like watching these videos, maybe there's too many tips of things that you can do and it's a little bit overwhelming, I think what is good to do, and this is something that really helps me, is to do less but do what matters. Because a lot of the time we will watch these videos and we'll listen to the podcasts and the audiobooks or whatever, and they will tell us all of these health hacks and life hacks that we can do in order to get out of a certain phase of our life, or in order to be the person that we want to be. But like, a lot of the time these life hacks are so irrelevant. Like, they literally make no sense. Like, they don't make sense in your life. Yes, they might be proven, but like, they don't make sense. So let's say, for example, a cold shower. Obviously there is definite health benefits of having a cold shower, and it is really good to have a cold shower, and if that's something that you like doing, that is great, and probably like you're gonna live longer, I don't even know. But like, a lot of the time it's just not relevant to what you want to achieve. And because there's so many things like that out there, there's so many tiny life hacks that we can implement, we kind of use it as a form of procrastination, and we fill our schedules and our diaries and our to-do list with all of these weird little micro habits that are so irrelevant and so not even going to get us to where we want to be. And then we wonder why we're not getting to where we want to be. Like, oh my god, I'm having a cold shower every single morning, but my manifestations have not come into my lap yet, or into my life yet. And like, okay, but like, have you been doing anything else to work towards that? Or are you literally just taking cold showers and doing all the healthy life hacks, thinking that these things are just gonna come to you and draw to you like a magnet? Obviously, I do believe in the law of attraction and things like that, and when you are in a higher vibrational state, you are more magnetic to more opportunities and more like high vibrational opportunities. But like, it's all about whether you take them or not. And I think if you're not working on the big things that are actually going to get you to your goals, you might have a high vibrational opportunity or a good opportunity come to you, but because you're not prepared in the relevant aspects of it, like in the big ways, you're not going to go for that opportunity because you don't think that you're ready for it. So what I'm trying to say is like doing the big things. Like, say if you're trying to move out, and like for me, I'm trying to move to the city. So I noticed that I was just giving myself all of these weird little habits to do, like wake up at 5 a.m, do yoga every single morning, go for a walk every single day, have a cold shower every morning, gua sha my face every morning for 5 minutes. I was putting so many of these little micro habits into my day, and I was sticking to them, but all that eventually led to was me getting burnt out because I was doing too much. Like, I was literally doing all of these things alongside working 2 jobs and then having a YouTube career on the side, and like, I wondered why I was burnt out. Like, there's no fucking shit that I was burnt out. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of us normal people, like, I say normal people, I mean just like not, like we're working 9 to 5 jobs and things like that. Like, we are living like the average kind of life. We don't have the same kind of lifestyle as the people who are doing all of these healthy habits every single morning. But then we hold ourselves to the same standard. So we think that if we can't do these things, then we're not as good as them and that we can't get to where they are or whatever. And it's kind of contradictory, and it kind of leads us into like the same cycles over and over again, because we're like setting too many of these little weird little micro habits that have nothing to do with where we want to be. Like having a cold shower. I'm sorry, right, having a cold shower when you are in a place where you're not enjoying your life, that you don't enjoy your life right now, the only thing that a cold shower is going to do is make you fucking cold and miserable. It's going to make you more miserable. And I know it'll have long-term like health benefits or whatever. And to be fair, it probably will like help with your dopamine levels and all that kind of stuff. But like, I feel like none of that really, it's all cancelled out when you're in survival mode, and when you're in the mode of like, you really just don't like your life and you don't like the trajectory that you're on at the moment. Having a cold shower is going to have very little impact on actually getting you out of that situation, and it's probably just going to make you feel more uncomfortable and make it harder. Do you know what I mean? So like, I'm saying all this to say that doing the important things, I feel like I was getting to this point a second ago, but I really just didn't get to the point. But like, I'm trying to move to the city, so instead of doing all of these weird little micro habits that I set for myself, which obviously are good, and I will do these things, like, but I don't need to stick to every single one and do it every single day. And like, if I don't do that, feel bad for it, if that made sense. But like, instead of doing those things, actually giving myself one thing, one big thing that I can do that day that is going to get me closer to my goal. So like, let's say for example, on one day, this was like the start of the week, and I was thinking to myself, like, how am I going to actually do things that are impactful and get me closer to where I want to be? So on the Monday, like, I said to myself that I've got one task, one job that I need to do. I'm feeling really shit, I'm feeling really low and sad, and I don't want to do anything, but if I just do this one thing, this one big task that is actually going to make an impact, rather than just wasting all my energy waking up at 5 a.m, doing like workouts and all that kind of stuff, just making it a priority to do that one thing, which would be write my CV or apply for a couple of jobs or whatever it would be, whatever stage you're at. Just doing one thing that actually matters and that's actually going to move the needle in your life and actually get you closer. Because trust me, I've done this for so long. You'll just get stuck in this loop of doing all of these healthy habits and doing all of these lifestyle hacks and things like that to make you feel better, but they're not actually making any moves towards getting you to where you want to be. It might be making you feel a little bit happier, but at the end of the day, if you're in a situation that you don't like, you'll feel happy when you're happy, but when you feel down, you'll feel so down. Like, you'll feel so miserable because you've not made any progress towards your goals, and you just feel like you're not getting anywhere, and you just feel stuck, and subsequently in a flop era or a lazy girl era or a rut. So yes, that is my little rant about being in a lazy girl era and how to get out of it, essentially, but in a backwards way, because you don't need to get out of it. You really don't need to get out of it. If you're in a lazy girl era right now, it's probably for a reason. Like, just embrace it and just say to yourself, like, it's okay that I'm in a lazy girl era, but always having the intention of like knowing what you want, and knowing that obviously if you're stuck in a lazy girl era for like your whole entire life and you make it your identity, then you're probably not going to reach the places that you want to reach. So having that intention in mind, but not demonizing yourself for not feeling 100%, not feeling your very best, or not feeling like all of the influencers out there who are living their best life. Because I know for a lot of us, it's not the reality. Like, we're working jobs, we're working 9-to-5 jobs that we hate. They're draining. We are a slave to the system, and it's awful, and it is demeaning, and it sometimes gets a lot. So like, I do think it is kind of like survival mode when you really are in a place that you don't like. When you're in that situation, like, just not putting so much pressure on yourself and doing what you can, focusing on like the one thing that you can do rather than like the millions of other little things. I'm just repeating myself at this point, but you get the gist. I hope you guys are doing okay. I'm feeling a lot better than I was when I made the other video, like my last video. Feeling so much better, feeling a little bit brighter. Obviously, I'm very much anticipating that this isn't a constant state. Like, I'm not thinking, oh my god, I'm cured, I'm happy now, because I know that life likes to throw curveballs at me. But I am absolutely desperate for a wee right now, because this is like I think I've had about 5 cups of peppermint tea today, which isn't a lot, but I've also drank water alongside, and I really need a wee. But yeah, I hope you guys are all doing okay. I love you guys so much. I have so many ideas for content that I want to film at the minute, and like, I'm enjoying this vibe. I'm enjoying just sitting comfortably at my desk rather than putting my chair like over there, which is so random. I only did it for the vibe, like the aesthetics of the door, but you can still see the door while I'm here, so I might as well be comfy and like have my little desk in front of me and my lighting, rather than like the big massive bright not ring lights, like studio lights, LED lights. No, it's not a vibe. It makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me feel like I'm on a stage, and it makes me feel like I have to like speak really properly and kind of like almost perform for you guys, which I'm not a clown. Like, I'm not an actress. I don't want to be performing. I want to just be chatting with you guys. So why am I going to put myself under stark light when I'm not a stark light girly? I am an ambient lighting kind of girly. Right, I'm talking too much now, but I love you guys so much. Again, like I said in my previous video, if you want to message me about anything, if you've got any queries or anything that you want to talk about, any problems that you're going through right now, dilemmas, just slide into my DMs on Instagram. I'll leave the link down below. It's just voice notes from your bestie. It's the same name as my channel, but like all one word. But yeah, slide into my DMs. Let me know how you're feeling, because it's a tough world. It's a difficult world, and it can be really hard to be a sensitive girly in a world where nobody gives a fuck. Or it seems like nobody gives a fuck. People do give a fuck. I give a fuck, okay? I need to stop swearing. Okay, I'm gonna go now. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.